Something that I think everyone eventually deals with in their life is loss. It's a constant thing that at some point in your life will affect you and myself, whether it be the loss of a loved one, a relationship, a job, a pet, or more. It can hurt a lot, and like any physical wound, it takes time to heal. I know that's a depressing intro to this video, but it ties into the game that we're covering today, that being Nomada Studios' platforming adventure Gris. A game that covers the process of a young girl grieving from a loss as her world and emotions change at each stage. Before I move on, this video will be somewhat different than the rest of my Remembering series. It'll be a bit more serious than usual and cut down a bit on the jokes due to the nature of this game and what it represents. If it's what you're looking for, is more of the jokey stuff, it will definitely be in the next video, so please enjoy. I've known about Gris for a few years now. I remember seeing the visuals and finding them breathtaking. The cover of the game always stuck out to me as well. The colors and the visual of Gris crying always just sticks out to you. I just never played this game. I always had other things going on in my life, and to be honest, I forgot it existed. Recently, the game was on sale, so I finally picked it up, and my breath was taken away once again by the truly amazing watercolor art style that this game has. The music is really good, and it tells a great tale with no dialogue, something I always find really incredible when pulled off right. With May being Mental Health Month, I wanted to cover a game that covers mental health as well, so you know, what better time than now to dive into Gris. So today, please join me as we remember Gris. Our story begins with a young girl. She's in the palm of a giant statue singing a song until suddenly she loses the ability to sing as the statue itself crumbles, sending her down to the deep below as colors fade from her world. This is the beginning of Gris's loss. As she reaches the end of this fall, her world is filled with nothing but gray. A blank slate on her world, and this is the beginning of her stages of grief. Gris itself is a story about depression and grieving through this loss that she's experienced. And the first stage of grief is always denial. As she gets up, she falls down. She tries to sing again, but nothing comes out. Gris continues to travel in this world of gray, going through the broken architecture until she discovers the broken statue. As she goes to the statue, a new color appears in this world, that of the color red. In this adventure, Gris is going to go through several worlds, bringing color back to her world. See, each stage in color represents the 5 stages of grief. For those unaware, the 5 stages of grief are based off the Kubler-Ross model of grief. It's a theory that explains the 5 stages in which a human goes through when they're grieving from some kind of loss. This model is argued against a bit, as people can go through each stage at different times, but that's not the point of what I'm trying to get through this video. This game follows each stage of that model for each level as we restore color to Gris's world. A really cool concept that I like a lot. The color gray in the first level represents denial. Gris is also a Spanish word for gray. She's in denial of her loss, and this situation feels nothing but emptiness, hence the grayish-white background. There is no color in her life or in the game. Eventually, after traversing through the level, she'll stumble upon the statue as she gains the color red, the color of anger. The world becomes red as storms continue to rage, and that will blow Gris back. We have to get into small shelters here in order to avoid the winds of anger. This stage represents the loneliness and anger in which Gris is feeling. Eventually, after finding enough stars, Gris will be able to gain a new ability where she can become a cube. In cube form, she can walk through the anger storms, and I really like the music that plays when the storms rage on. This is definitely a great way to sell that feeling of anger for her. It's just a nice touch, really. The game does have very good music, and I highly recommend that you go and check it out. It's very ambient, but it really helps sell what this game is going for. Before we move on, I do want to say that Gris isn't alone in these levels. In the world of anger, there are actually little creatures that hide in rocks that you can see. To get one of the stars, Gris actually has to use her cube form in order to smash a rock that chases the creature out, and that creature will run to a giant rock that, I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw it, I thought it was gonna be a boss fight, but the creature will get into the rock and basically allow you to get the star. And this game does kind of have bosses, but we'll jump more into that later. At the end of this world, Gris will discover the statue again, this time receiving the color green and returning it to her world. Green in this sense represents the stage of grief that is bargaining. The bargaining stage of grief is when you'll do anything to try to fix a situation. I'll use a relationship to kind of explain this stage. Often when couples break up, someone will try to bargain their way to get the relationship back. Whether it be trying to change themselves physically, emotionally, offering stuff, and more. Basically anything the person can do to prevent the loss from happening again and change the loss to make it better. In the world of Green, Gris will explore a forest. She'll go through the forest and have to do time jumps on certain platforms to make it through the level. A neat touch that I actually really enjoy about this level is how it mixes the color red and green. The green, of course, is the bargaining, but the red represents the anger side that her efforts really aren't going anywhere. It's very real, and it's also a very nice touch visually. Along the path, Gris will discover a creature in the forest who she can help feed by using the cube ability on some trees to give it fruit. Thanks to Gris's kindness, the creature will help out along the way in the level, opening up pathways, destroying blocks, and more. And I really like this stage a lot. Visually, it's beautiful, and the creature being there not only helps Gris feel less lonely, but adds an extra bit of gameplay to the puzzles that she'll be doing, makes it a little bit more interesting compared to the first level. You have to be good at timing these jumps to the disappearing platforms, not just for Gris, but the little creature as well. Thankfully, I played Mega Man as a kid, so these tiny portions aren't anything challenging for me. After obtaining enough stars, Gris will obtain the ability to hover. This ability is super useful for the long jumps, and it's admittedly a bit hard to replay this game without having this ability. Thankfully, it's in the third stage, but I'm a big sucker for hovering mechanics in my platformers. At the end of the stage, Gris climbs up a building only for the darkness from before to pop up. Here we get what I think is technically a boss fight. The shadow will turn into a giant bird that will chase Gris as she journeys her way back up the building. The bird will try to attack you by screaming, which causes Gris to go fly back. You need to use the cube form here in order to keep yourself from being blown away, but at certain sections you'll be required to time your usage of the cube form in order to use the tail end of the scream to glide to the next platform. This is probably one of my favorite sections of the game. I love the timing parts, the music, and the overall tension of the bird fight gives you. It's just fantastic, and I especially enjoy that you're facing a bird. It's not a real common enemy in a video game, at least not this type of regular bird. The bird and Gris will eventually reach the top floor where you have to use the bird's screams to move the bells on the bell tower. The sound of the bells will hurt the shadow bird, causing it to lose, and it definitely gave me some Venom from Spider-Man 3 vibes here, I can't lie. Once complete, a giant staircase will appear, leading Gris once again to the statue, this time returning the color blue to her world. Stage 4 is my favorite stage in the game. As soon as the color blue returns to this world, you begin to see rain. This stage represents the depression stage of the grieving process. Stage 4 is our token water level of the game, taking Gris into the deep depths of her mental state, as she'll have to navigate her way from platform to platform while avoiding falling into the water. The water doesn't kill you, it just slows you down. You can't really die in Gris. This stage is very pretty, by the way. It's a lot of blues and blacks, which perfectly encapsulates not just the water level vibe, but the dark tones that really represent the depression that Gris is going through. The deep sea represents the depression that Gris is slowly slinking into. Reality has sunk in for her now, and it's that she's arguably at the toughest stage of the grieving process. Throughout the level, you'll be using red creatures from the previous level in order to jump high into the air. Your goal is to climb, or in this case swim, out of the deep sea, or depression in Gris's case, and rescue her and get back to the top. This stage definitely has trickier puzzles than the previous stage. You'll be having to work with making ice sculptures of Gris in order to get the stars. For example, there's one section where you have to take 2 weights, and you have to get them to even out the same weight in order to get the star. After a certain period of time, Gris will freeze, creating a frozen copy of her, and you need to do the cube form here to make that weight even. I actually like these puzzles a lot, and I like the ice portions because visually they're very pretty, and it's just fun to having little puzzles here. Towards the end of the stage, you'll actually need to get 8 stars for a rock in the sea. After collecting the 8 stars, the rock will turn out to be a red turtle that will swim away. Gris in this stage will gain the ability to swim, so a lot of traversal in this stage is Gris swimming, trying to complete puzzles and collect stars. This is my favorite ability in the game, as the swimming controls are super tight, quick to use, and they're just a blast to play with. Towards the end of the level, Gris will encounter the Shadow once again, this time taking the form of a giant eel. The eel will chase Gris throughout the level, trying to eat her, and it slowly breaks up into separate smaller eels that will also try to do the same. Now again, you cannot die in this game, but this section is super tense, as towards the end of the stage, the eel gets closer and closer with each bite to eating Gris whole, swallowing her into the darkness. As the eel finally does swallow her, the red turtle from before saves her, freeing Gris from the darkness, and I love this moment so much. It's so pretty, and the turtle popping up, I'm not gonna lie, kind of made me scream because it was so cool. Now, this is mainly me assuming things, but the turtle here is red, so I'm not sure if this turtle represents Gris's anger saving her from this moment, or if it's representing something else. I always took this moment as Gris's determination to save not just herself in that situation with the eel, but save herself mentally and become stronger as what is saving her here, but I could always be wrong. I'm not a therapist, to be honest with you. When we find the statue once again, Gris will now gain the color yellow. All of the colors have now returned to the world as we now prepare for the next and final stage, which is the 5th stage of grief, acceptance. This stage is honestly my least favorite of the levels. It's not bad by any means, it has some fun sections, but it's just much longer compared to the previous stages, and it has a few puzzles that can be kind of tricky. This level is more like 2 levels in one. You'll be doing the same thing where you find stars, but you'll be using all of your abilities now to gain the stars. Throughout the level, you'll be working with gravity as well in order to go from up to down. In a way, you're kind of turning Gris's world back over. It was knocked upside down once, but now with the grief taken care of, we're knocking it back to fix her mental state. This level is visually amazing, just to state. The entire game is visually amazing, but this level in particular is really cool. Especially once you gain the ability of this level, which is the return of Gris's singing voice. With her singing back, Gris can return life to the plant life nearby, giving her the red birds and other options to shoot up high into the sky. I really like the cool flower puzzle, which is just beautiful, and the cool beetle puzzle is also really neat. I find these sections a bit difficult, though, to kind of get out of. See, you're supposed to glide to the next platform, but you have to time your jump so perfectly in order to glide here, and there's a chance that you can always get caught in the anti-gravity wave that will throw you just right back up, having to do it all over again. I did set this stage to my least favorite in the game before, and that's not honestly a bad thing. Every stage offers something unique and changes the formula up. It's not bad at all. I just think this is my least favorite level, but when it comes to visuals, it is my second favorite level behind the stage before. It's just truly amazing to look at, and it has my favorite song in the game. Once you've collected all of the stars in this level and returned to the highest part of the building in the level, the stars will come together to create a pathway for Gris to walk up. And as Gris tries walking up the path of stars, the shadow from before will return, this time taking the form of Gris herself. This is Gris's darkness. The fear, doubt, and depression that's been holding her down. Gris swims out of the darkness and proceeds to platform her way back up using pieces of the broken statue to rise and overcome this entity. As she reaches the hand of the statue again, she does what has always brought light into her life, that being singing, and man, this part is awesome. The statue begins to reform thanks to Gris's singing, but the darkness tries once again to swallow her whole. The darkness swallowed her once before, but this time, things are different. By the power of her singing, her light even, Gris returns the statue back to its fixed shape, color to the world, and repels her darkness away. And I love this scene a lot. It's Gris taking her life back. She's moving forward with her life, even though the grief she's experienced is tough. The colors in this scene truly make the scene, along with the incredible music. This moment is incredible. With the darkness gone, the statue returns Gris to the pathway of stars, and as Gris walks up the pathway, she'll eventually walk into the clouds as our journey comes to an end. There is a secret ending that you can unlock in this game, though, by collecting the 28 stars in the game. The secret ending is young Gris and the statue, which is actually her mother, sitting up watching the moon and stars at night. The person that Gris lost was her mother. I know this video is a little different compared to what I normally put out. It's not as jokey and a bit more of diving into themes of this game. Gris is an interesting game for me. I enjoy media that makes me want to dive in deeper to the overall themes of what the creators want to represent and have to think about it. The thing is, though, that I think Gris can mean a lot to different people, as you may interpret it differently than I do. I said at the beginning of the video that we all deal with grief differently, and we deal with it in our own way. In Gris herself dives deep into the world, slowly putting the statue of her mother back together, only for the shadowy creature to show up and ruin that plan. The shadow creature is her depression, trying to take away every bit of achievement Gris gains as she completes each level. However, the player has to help Gris overcome these obstacles and stages of grief in order to reclaim her light, which is her ability to sing. It's what helps her shine. It's also something that her mother loved. I really like that about this game. It's honestly not the most exciting game you'll play. It's a bit slow-paced and overall a really short adventure, but I love the tension it puts you through. You're restoring color to a broken person's world, which in all honesty is what depression is. You lose your color, your light also. In Gris, it's all about taking that power back from the darkness and restoring those colors to her world. I know I'm probably coming off melodramatic with this stuff, but I love that about the game. It's a fantastic experience. Gris visually is one of the most beautiful games I've ever played. I love the watercolor art style, and it has music that is truly amazing, and I really recommend that you look it up. This isn't a game that everyone's gonna love, and I know that. It's more of an experience game akin to Journey and Abzu, but it's all about that journey, pun intended. But with Gris, the payoff and destination are so much worth it. If you're interested in trying Gris, it is available on all modern consoles such as the PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, Nintendo Switch, and Steam. It's on sale quite often, and it's always super cheap, so if you're interested in trying this game out, I highly recommend giving it a shot. It's a great story about loss and the process of grief. For those who are currently going through some form of loss, I hope this game can help you through it. You're never alone. We all experience this pain in our lives, but like Gris teaches you in this game, you gotta keep moving forward. It's just how life is. I've been Lance of the Pants. You've all been amazing. Thank you all for watching, and have a great day.